the 2025 Kia K4. This is going to be your Kia Forte replacement. And let's just go ahead and start out with the looks because, wow, this is one interesting looking automobile. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. The front end is very clean. Nothing super controversial about that. But it's that side and that rear end. It's very strange, but I like it. I don't mind vehicles that aren't quite proportional or look kind of weird. I really don't mind that. In fact, I prefer it. You know, on the high end, we have things like the Porsche Panamera, right? When that first came out, everyone hated it. But personally, I like those strange looking automobiles, like a Rolls-Royce Phantom. That's not exactly a pretty car. It looks a bit weird, but that's kind of why we like it. And same thing with this K4. It's got some presence despite it being a compact sedan, you know, meant to rival things like the Corolla, the Mazda 3, the Honda Civic. Because of its slightly strange rear end, it somehow gave it a more upscale look. I don't know, it's difficult to describe. The wheel designs look great as well. Of course, what they always unveil is the top of the line model. The lower end vehicles won't look quite this nice. Some of you might think that the rear end is a hatchback, but it's not. It's just a traditional trunk, and that's fine because when you go for that hatchback design, it actually ruins the handling of the vehicle. You have to add additional bracing to the rear to add back in the stiffness that you lost by going to a hatch, so it's just better that they stuck with a regular trunk. That's totally fine. But yeah, in my opinion, I think this is an elegant vehicle. In fact, they even unveiled this vehicle in gray, showing its more, you know, mature side of things. I think recently Genesis, they came out with some Magma performance themed models, or they're coming out with a new performance division and all of their cars are in orange. Here with the K4, they didn't opt for any flashy colors. They just kept it discreet and cool, and I appreciate it. Anyway, moving on from the looks, let's talk about the powertrain. We have the naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 147 horsepower. This is going to be mated to their IVT, which is their chain-driven CVT transmission. And I think that's great. I personally am a huge fan of their naturally aspirated engine, and honestly, their CVT performs really well. It's very smooth, and it mimics a traditional automatic extremely well. Plus, we all know Hyundai Kia, they have that 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, so you're covered. It might seem a little slow on paper, right? 147 horsepower, 132 pounds-feet of torque. It doesn't sound like much, but honestly, around town, it picks up and goes just fine. And the fuel economy is phenomenal with this setup. People easily meet and exceed the fuel economy numbers for the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. We don't have the official fuel economy numbers right now, but we know it's going to be amazing. Anyway, from there you can step up to the 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with 190 horsepower and 195 pounds-feet of torque. I believe the current Forte GT, it produces 201 horsepower, so this is actually down a little bit, but it's fine because this is still going to be a front-wheel drive vehicle. There is no all-wheel drive as of now, so I'm sure this is going to be able to put its power down rather well if you do end up opting for the Turbo 4. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but it's there if you want it. And the best news is if you do step up to this Turbo 4, they have dropped that dual clutch 7-speed automatic. No more of that. We just have a traditional 8-speed automatic with that turbo 4-cylinder. Hyundai Kia's 8-speed automatic and their IVT/CVT transmission, these are two of their best transmissions available for their normal cars, in my opinion. Their dual clutches, they almost always performed weird, and they had a lot of issues too. There was someone with a Kia Forte GT, he went through 3 or 4 of these dual clutches, so I'm glad that they ditched that. Anyway, the interior space, that's also a huge highlight with the K4. It's clean, it's sleek, it's almost got like a square-ish steering wheel, and it's got Kia written to the kind of like the right side of the steering wheel. Some OCD people might not like that, but I'm personally a fan. That kind of, added a little spice to the interior with that offset logo. But no, the interior, it's very clean, it's sharp, and we even have physical buttons and switches. Not a whole lot, but we have some toggles for the HVAC, and that's fine. You got some massive cup holders in the middle. You have a physical shifter, a bunch of USB-C ports in the front, and we also get wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as standard. Again, they're always going to show you the top of the line model, so you're going to see like the best leather qualities and the interesting colors with the upper trims. Regarding screens, we got a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, a 12.3-inch touchscreen. It's kind of combined together. Almost every car is adopting this style now for the interior space, even your top tier luxury cars, right? So in that sense, all of these vehicles, these new cars that are becoming kind of generic and soulless with their interior, they all kind of share the same vibe, especially with their screens. But this is what most people want. And there's going to be some type of a 5-inch climate control display as well. And we're also going to get over-the-air updates, and you have your voice assistant that you can play with as well. Regarding space, Kia is claiming that the K4 is going to have class-leading rear legroom and headroom within the compact sedan segment, and it certainly looks that way with its design. It looks like a pretty big vehicle, honestly. I know in this class, the Jetta and the Civic are pretty spacious, so if this can truly outdo those two sedans, that's extremely impressive. And it almost makes you wonder, is it worth stepping up to the K5? Would you do it? Let me know in the comments. We don't have the official pricing, of course, but we can assume the lower end models are going to be in the low 20s, and these upper models, especially with the turbos, is going to be like 30 grand most likely. You got a whole bunch of standard safety tech. Of course, the important ones, they did make standard, and that's impressive, like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. They got that standard, forward collision and your pedestrian detection, all of that stuff comes standard. A whole slew of safety tech, and Kia Hyundai safety tech also works extremely well. But it makes you wonder, perhaps because of all of the stolen Fortes, maybe the Forte nameplate got a bad rep. Maybe that's why they decided to change over to K4. Who knows? But anyway, this vehicle, it should be available in the second half of 2024, and later on we should be getting the official fuel economy numbers and the official pricing, but those things are pretty predictable. You can just look at the previous Forte to get some numbers, and you can essentially ballpark what this is going to be. Yeah, that's everything you need to know for the 2025 Kia K4. Would you buy this sedan? Is this something you would consider buying for your family? Do you like this brand? Would you consider trusting them? Kia Hyundai tends to like being in the media, especially with all those recalls. They tend to be, front and center in most journalist outlets. But yeah, at least in the US, not everyone appreciates this brand. Their sketch dealership networks, their recalls, and all kinds of little fiascos kind of turns people off from this brand. Personally, if you're able to do your own due diligence and you have a good, high quality Kia dealership nearby where you live, make sure you look through all of the reviews and everything. And if there's a good one nearby, then you can consider buying into this brand, because fortunately, they do provide you with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. If this ends up being a truly good car and it's well priced, you like the way it looks, then it's something to consider, but only if you have a high quality dealership nearby. If you appreciate this content, make sure to like and subscribe, but thank you so much for watching. Take care and goodbye.